Happy Sunday, and welcome to Beware Spoilers. I am Adam. So the last few episodes have been about Avengers Endgame, which is still in theaters. It is the number 2 movie of all time now, at the international box office, taking over the spot from Titanic. And it is going to, I have a feeling it's going to end up taking on Avatar's spot by the end of its run. I was wrong. I'm gonna admit that now. I had a feeling that it wasn't going to do that because just the sheer, this is gonna be a brief thing. I don't really like talking about other movies. I'm gonna do a review of a movie I just saw, but I had a feeling that what was gonna happen was it was gonna be eaten alive through the gauntlet of sorts, for lack of a better word, that I would have to go through the month of May. Now, the first week after there's nothing, but then next week there's a big family movie. There's Detective Pikachu, which is rated PG. That's going to take a chunk out of people going to see this. Aladdin rounds out the month, and things like that. Star Wars got the number 3 spot. Star Wars didn't have any meaningful competition in 2015 into 2016 until Deadpool came out. There was no meaningful competition for Star Wars. I mean, there are a few other movies that came out, but Star Wars held the number 1 spot for 5 or 6 weeks because it was just Star Wars. And then Deadpool took it over. If I remember correctly, there could have been another movie toward the end that took it over, but it did have a very long run at number 1. It also had the second week where it had school was out of session. So it had that going for it as well. So I didn't think it was going to quite do this, but it's already eclipsed The Force Awakens, and that's just staggering. That's a truly shocking thing that I did not think was going to happen, especially this quickly, and it's been out for 2 weeks. It's been out for a week. This is its second weekend. And it's just shocking that happened. So I think that, they're probably going to make another Avengers movie. But that's not what we're here to talk about. I'm not here to talk about the Avengers this week. We're here to talk about the movie Long Shot, a comedy with Seth Rogan and Charlize Theron. Now, when I was leaving the movie theater, the guy walking out behind me had a few choice words. I will share his assessment of the movie with you. Well, that fucking sucked. There's nothing original about that. I'll agree with him on half of that. The movie didn't suck. The movie wasn't awful. There was nothing flagrantly bad about it. It was in terms of comedies, I'm not a big comedy person. I like genre comedies. I like to see a comedy that's mixed in with something else. I don't like seeing a straight comedy, especially when straight comedies recently, parodies and all things like that, haven't been very good. I think that the bigger issue that I have with this movie is that it's every romantic comedy that you've ever seen before, just in a world leader paint job. You watch the movie, you know what's going to happen. You can tell the beats of the story if you've seen any romantic comedy before. It's good too. It's the thing is I really like about this movie, it's Seth Rogan and Charlize Theron. They have good chemistry together, and really, at the core of a movie, at the core of a romantic comedy, that's one of the most important things that needs to be there. The two leads need to have chemistry together, and they need to mesh well. It needs to be believable that they would, go into the relationship. Now, the point of this relationship is that superficially it doesn't look like it'll work, but when you look past that, Seth Rogen's still a good guy. My only complaint about the end of the movie, is that, and the movie does correct this too. The movie does make it seem like the moral of the story is that he being Seth Rogen, his character Fred, should pivot and change his entire way of being for that. And it's a similar thing that would have happened if they ended, what's it called, like that. If they ended La La Land like that, I would have felt the same way, but La La Land doesn't do that, obviously. La La Land, they both go to separate ways because that's, they both have their own dreams, they want to do it, and the dreams are divergent, and they can't, be together, so be it. This movie, he doesn't really have any real long-term aspirations or anything like that. She does, and he's like, alright, whatever, and he goes along with her. And I do really like the way, the fact that they made it seem like that's the way they were going to go, and they were going to make it where he needs to change to, do that. He needs to be ashamed of who he is. She makes the decision that no, he's not going to do that. even though he's willing to, and then they accept him for who he is. And I did really like that was the outcome of the story, rather than, the typical words like he's got to change to accommodate what's happening. And usually it's either way that could happen in a movie, or there's vice versa. Either the guys got to change, the girls got to change. They got to fundamentally change something about who they am. Wow. Who they are. And they need to, I don't know where the hell that came from. They need, and they're going to change that for everyone. I'm genuinely, I'm happy they didn't do that. And that's where the originality of this movie comes in. Now, in terms of unoriginality, it's like all the story beats are kind of the same as you've seen 9 million times before. You've seen, I can't think of it off the top of my head. I'm not a big romantic comedy person. I didn't know it was going to be a romantic comedy to the degree that it was. I thought it was going to be a more of a straight comedy. I was thinking more like Knocked Up than what this was. And they did a where it's like, they're going good. Then it's like someone starts telling them this isn't going to work. Then they have to break up for reasons outside of their control. They're both really sad about it because they both know they're doing it for a good reason, but neither of them wants to admit it. And and then what happens is they get back together at the end after having a big epiphany. After one of them starts dating someone else and realizes this isn't the right fit, they're doing the wrong thing. It's everything you've ever seen before, but it's done well. And really, if you're going to keep doing the same formula over and over again, and a formula that's been tested by time and tried again, and it always works, then really all you can expect is the movie done well around that formula. Is a MacGuffin chase movie any less original because you've seen that movie so many times before? It's the Maltese Falcon, it's the Guardians of the Galaxy, it's the Avengers, it's Justice League. It's every movie that's done something like that. Do we take into consideration it's unoriginal because it's just a paint job slapped onto something we've already seen? We typically don't do that. Like, yeah, we've seen the plot, we know what's going to happen, we know how it's going to work, and we watch it anyway, and we don't criticize it based on the fact that it's the same thing we've seen before. And in this case, we have that same thing, where it's a romantic comedy, and I'm not going to criticize it for following a formula, and that's what it is. There's a formula to this, especially when it's being made by a big studio. In this case, I think it was Lionsgate was the studio behind it, and if you're going to make a big release movie, you want to follow a formula because you want to make the money back, and I'm not going to fault them for that. I'm not going to fault them, and especially because they did a good job in it too. It's a technically well done movie. There are a few times where it's like you can tell dialogue from a different take was superimposed onto the current take, and there's one shot of that that's a little jarring and takes you out of it. It's toward the end of the movie when they're having a conversation in his apartment, and it's like during that scene you can kind of see that her dialogue is not from that take because she's facing the other way and she's kind of walking, and then when she turns back her mouth isn't entirely synchronized to what she's saying. And the other thing that was really pretty funny was a lot of it was taken from real life. Like the tabloid guy who runs the Fox News Sinclair Media type thing is obviously based on David Pecker, who runs American Media International, Incorporated. I don't know what it is. The company does National Enquirer. It's definitely based off of him. The president's vanity and his obsession with his image and all of that is 100% based on Trump, and Bob Odenkirk does a great job in a small role playing him. If you need a movie to see and you don't want to see Endgame again, which I'm going to see again tomorrow, I'm going to do something about some of my on the third viewing. I'm going to talk more about plot holes. I'm going to talk about what a Dolby screening is. I'm trying that out for the first time tomorrow. But if you don't want to see Endgame again and you need another movie to see, this is a perfectly serviceable date night movie. And it's not a movie that you're gonna walk out of feeling like you wasted your time, because it's perfectly funny. And if you like, here's the thing: if you like Seth Rogan and you like his style movie, the movie that he stars in, and his style of comedy, then you're gonna like this movie. That's what it comes down to. Is it's everything you'd expect from a Seth Rogan comedy, done properly. And if you haven't seen it, which based on the fact that Endgame has now done $2 billion at the box office, almost $2.5 billion at the box office, in a week and a half, it's kind of, it's probably pretty likely that you haven't seen this movie yet, and it'll probably be eaten up by that. But it's gonna be in theaters for a little bit, so I would definitely recommend you go see this movie. It's perfectly funny. It's not like, there's very few groaning inducing moments, and it's definitely worth seeing. So we'll be back tomorrow with a review of what a Dolby screening at AMC is, because I have no idea what it is. My theater just put it in, and I'm gonna see Endgame in it. And there were a few thoughts I had about Endgame that I'm gonna also address in there. Now, after that, I will have seen the movie 3 times, tying my current record for most times seeing a movie in theater. And that will be that'll be tomorrow morning, or tomorrow afternoon probably, by the time it's recorded and gets out. So we'll wrap up there for today. And have a great rest of your week.